are the co-founders of Dipper.
Dipper is a technology platform that guides professionals of color to a better workplace, one review at a time.
Dipper is your safe space. It is the time for you to share your voice with a community that you are a part of. Visit us and join today at ourdipper.com.
Welcome everyone that's tuning in. Hi, Jacinta.
Hi, Netta.
How are you feeling today? I know we had a little chat earlier. How's your morning going for you? Are we even in the morning? Yeah, we're still.
We're still before noon. I mean, I've been having some very early mornings. I have become a woman of a certain age that cannot work late at night. So, it has happened. But I can work like very early in the morning. So, and it's like quiet, everyone's asleep, it's still dark. I feel like my brain is sharp. So I feel like I have become my mother who woke up at 4 a.m. every single day and was like doing her thing.
You know what? You're spot on, because I am definitely my mother now.
Yeah.
And I remember I used to side-eye her, like, why is she waking up at 5 a.m.? What is wrong with my mom? And now I'm that person.
Yeah. She was wise. She was like, y'all are asleep. Girls. I am not.
Right. And I think the other thing too, we both have side projects, right? We call them side hustles, a business.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're both working full time at the same time. So I do find that early morning, or I should say late morning, is good for me.
Yeah, for sure. And you're catching yourself before my 3:30 p.m. brain. So but I am glad we are gathered here today. I'm glad that you and I get to chat again. So
me too. Yeah. So, and I already see folks saying hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in. We always say head to ourdipper.com right now. Make sure you sign up, create your profile. We want to make sure that you're guided to great workplaces that really value diversity, equity, inclusion, anti-racism. They are putting in the work in those efforts and really ensuring that you have that psychological safety that you need, right? To progress within your career. So make sure that you sign up with ourdipper.com. But today we have a very, very important topic. You've got that new job. Now what? Listen, you came up with the title, and
I did.
You are the queen of title creation.
It's okay. Yeah, it's so funny. I have thankfully I had two parents who one was an entrepreneur and one was a corporate executive. And so when I was starting to work or was like, oh, I want to start my business, they became like my business mentors. Right. And one early when I got into the workforce, my dad had bought me this book called The First 90 Days. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because I think the book has several different versions at this point. It has evolved. The most recent version of the book I bought had a whole chapter about startups because it's your first 90 days are very different, depending on the type of company. Right. Mm-hmm. And I think I just realized in those conversations with them, talking to my other peers, how you start is kind of like that saying, how you start is how you finish. It's so important, how you begin. And I've even seen cool videos on TikTok where people are like, don't work too hard because everyone's gonna think, but it's so you've got the new job and then it's what do you do? What's kind of some of the first things you do, and how do you give yourself space to learn, to make an impact, and to just dive right in. So
and the most important thing for me when I start a new job is really building those relationships. Mm-hmm. I want to know, what am I getting myself into? I've already done my due diligence in talking to as many people as possible before I got into that organization. but the power in building relationships so that you do have a community to lean on is so critical. And I think it's hard, right? Because if you're coming from an organization or coming out of an organization that perhaps you had experienced some trauma and you're coming into a new thing, you may still have your guard up. And it may be quite hard to actually open up and build those relationships, but it's a key factor. The other point that I always say is expectations are very different from agreements.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah. They're so different.
Yeah.
And so oftentimes when we get into an organization, we are expecting for this to happen. And then we are so deeply hurt when those expectations aren't met. What I like to do in the beginning is create agreements.
That's a great, early.
Down with whoever I'm going to be reporting to, my new manager, really letting that person know, hey, here's how recognition looks like for me.
Yeah.
Here's how I want to be recognized.
Yeah.
Here's the type of support I need. In terms of a career path, here's what I'm looking for. I come with my own career guide.
Yeah.
Right? I'm not waiting for anyone else to create my career path or my script for me.
Wait, say that part again.
I'm not waiting.
Okay, say it again.
I'm not waiting for anyone else to create my career path or my script for me. And that is something that I always see within the workplace happen, Jacinta. So many employees then say, well, my manager did not take a look at my career. And of course, an inclusive leader would do that. But we know in the workplace, everyone is not an inclusive leader. Everyone is not thinking about your career progression. So that is really, really important for me in really setting those guidelines for myself, but those agreements, most importantly, with the person that I'm reporting to, and even with my team.
Yeah. I like that because you're saying like relationships are really important. Sometimes it takes a like course with a syllabus to best understand who does what.
Right.
How do they prefer you communicate with them? Like who's on their team? What are their goals? Like just kind of learning the lay of the land, right? Is like super important. But I think a thing that's popped up for me, especially because I think I'm now, we were together at a big tech company. I'm now at like my second startup. And a thing that I've noticed kind of this is my third startup. Thing I've noticed at kind of all four of the places is understanding how does an organization communicate change? And then also like what is their how do they expect folks on the team to like engage with each other to establish the change course, I think is really important as well. And so just like sometimes it can be uncomfortable, of course, but like understanding how does the org communicate that? But you kind of can know more about that after you've fostered these relationships. And something I heard that we hear from people all the time, especially Black folks, that they don't feel comfortable like early in a job, like opening up personally, right? And so I think, and they feel guarded. So I have found, and I've kind of coached people before, like identify a couple things that you feel you are comfortable with and that are safe for you, that you can share about who you are, and let those be your guide. You don't have to pour out your all when you just meet everybody. Like, that's not, you may never do that. And that's your choice. And that's your prerogative. Like, find that thing that is, I was talking to one young woman. She was like, look, I'm not going to talk about my dating life with my coworkers. And I was like, bet that's like your boundary. Like, that's your boundary. Great. Like, people will respect that. But like, maybe the thing you talk about personally is like that what you do as a hobby, like maybe you're making jewelry or your books reading, like just to give people a window to who you are. Right.
Yeah.
And not just the work that you do.
Exactly. And no, I think you're so spot on with that. I think, earlier in my career, one thing that I noticed, and I always used to question everything, but as an associate level person earlier in my career, I would always question, why are people afraid to have conversations with senior leaders? Right? Because I think we've almost been as a society conditioned to accept hierarchy, right? No, don't talk to this person. You're at this level. And I wanted to dismantle that. So I remember an associate level role that I had, I said, I want to meet with the CEO and I want to sit down because I'm seeing some gaps that exist here. And I want to have a conversation about what's being done. And those that were around me, oh no, you don't want to speak to this person. This person, like they're harsh, right? No, I do. And I remember also sitting down with my manager and having that conversation. And thankfully, I had a manager that supported me because I built that relationship with that individual. But I had a conversation with the CEO, right? And what I saw was that my career progression shifted. And when I tell you it shifted so quickly within that organization, because I was not afraid to, it wasn't about me complaining or bringing up something that I also wasn't willing to contribute to, given I have the proper pay and title. That's a whole nother session, right? But really kind of creating, hey, here's my idea, here's the strategy, here are some of the goals. I can help you make this happen. Let's talk about how this is also going to benefit me. And I think oftentimes we're so afraid to have those conversations. We give our all and we're stuck in the same position.
Or like waiting for someone to tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, do you want to come to this meeting?
What's going on in that meeting today?
Yeah. Like, I think, and it's okay to ask questions, like, especially if it's pertaining to like going back to what you were talking about earlier, the expectations of your role, the goals you have, like, it's okay to challenge that. And I think there are so many leaders, executives, CEOs that we've had the pleasure of coming to contact with that actually don't want a team of yes people around them. Now, when that is happening, think twice. But I think I think what we've been blessed to kind of see is CEOs wanting to tap people who are experts or who are looking to grow their expert knowledge and expecting them to come to them with ideas. And that doesn't always happen. Like sometimes people are just waiting for the CEO to tell them what to do. But I think, a lot of these leaders are really, especially in this climate where there's so much uncertainty, they're like, maybe I don't have all the answers. Maybe, some of these other people, like, don't be afraid to like do that deck and present and just present your idea. And even if it's early, I was just interviewing someone who said they went through an onboarding process at a company. And then as soon as it was over, just kind of met with them to give them feedback on the onboarding process and like ideas on how they felt it could have been better in the future. And I was like, and no one asked them to do that.
Right.
They were like, I understand we're trying to build a certain culture and company here. Here are some things I think that could help with that.
Yeah.
It's perfectly fine to do.
Yeah, no, and you're spot on. I think also, going back to really thinking about yourself. Okay, how can I also benefit from this? Right? I'm going to drive this idea within this organization. How do I benefit? Right? Where's the support system here? And that's when you're able to see and assess, is this the place to do it as well? The other thing, one thing that was striking that Bo St. John said was that she sees herself as a molecule. And that hit me so hard because I'm like, oh, that's how I've been feeling this whole time. I feel like I'm a molecule as well when I step into a room. And the way in which she kind of described it is when you step into a room and you have the ability to change the dynamic. Right. So I remember stepping into a room and feeling super tense, anxiety, right? Because that happens often. And I just felt I did not feel as confident as I typically would. And this was a while back. And I literally had to step back out of that room and have a little talk with myself. I was like, Netta, listen, you know yourself. Believe in your abilities. You're bringing value. And yes, you are going to step in the room right now and you are going to add a different element and a different dynamic. And guess what? That's okay. And when I started to tap into that, it was Bose that kind of put the label on it for me when she said, I see myself as a molecule. But when I started to think and have that mindset, no matter what space I went into, I said, okay, I'm in agreement. I'm not expecting, I'm in agreement here that I'm going to shift the dynamic. And if I'm shifting the dynamic, there's something that's changing here. That also means that I need to reflect too, who are those people that I'm going to bring with me in that next meeting?
I love that. And it's also like reminding yourself you belong here, you deserve to be there, you work hard to get there, like giving yourself that pep talk. And I know sometimes it's when you start these new career opportunities, it's not only good to have like give yourself the pep talk, but let other people gas you up. Like text your homegirls and say like, look, I'm starting this new thing, feeling some, like, it's okay for us to communicate. We're feeling some doubt. We're not feeling as confident, because I promise you, you will get a bunch of, yes, girl, get it. You will get lots of gifts. People will encourage you and motivate you. And like, you know, have those people in your corner who maybe are in your same field, that when you do have a question, you can tap them. And I think we found a lot of help and like joining networks of like, you're involved in a lot of DEI organizations. I'm in tons of like marketing and product stuff, just having that network of other professionals. And then that's why we have Dipper, because sometimes you want that network of professionals who look like you, who've been through some similar stuff as you, and can offer you some guidance and encouragement too. And even if you're working on a new project and you're just like, hey, I want to like present to someone else before I present to the group. All of that is great to do, especially when you're new, so that you can just be tight and get it together. And it's okay to make mistakes, but like taking those risks in a safe space first can even help you be more confident when you do it in the broader setting, right?
Yeah. I see this question here from Veronica, and I want to pull it up. She said, how do you overcome imposter syndrome when starting a new position? Veronica, I just want to say, I want us to dismantle that word. You don't have imposter syndrome. You are not an imposter. We've been led, women have been led to believe that we are not imposters. You are doing the work, in fact, right? And I think, you know, one of the things I tell folks is really go back and assess the level of impact that you've made throughout the years within various positions, within various companies. Really taking a look and assessing your accomplishments will have you also then say, wait, hold on, I got it going on here, right? And that fear, because what we're talking about when we talk about imposter syndrome is really that element of fear. It's that element of fear telling us, no, don't do this because you may fail. It is okay if we fail. That aspect of it, right? Because we learn from it. It's okay if we win as well. And it's okay for us to talk about the accomplishments that we have. So I think that's such a great question. And really doing that work before you even get into that new opportunity will give you that level of boldness and the excitement that you need to drive through and make and create that impact.
Mm-hmm. And so true. And when you start with the knowing, like establishing those relationships too, I think one thing, how I kind of got over it is that oftentimes my initial thought used to be, oh, they want me to figure it all out. And that's not solving the problem doesn't mean you alone figured it all out and did all the work.
Right.
So it could mean you might be pushing it forward. You may be project managing this. You may be like the owner of this particular goal or OKR. But you're not doing that all by yourself. And so finding the right folks to work with. And I was just telling someone else a story years ago. Some performance feedback I got was that I needed to be more data driven and analytical. Mm-hmm. And I promise you, no one ever told me that shit again. I am glad someone did tell me that, because I spent a lot of time with the folks in analytics. I spent a lot of times watching YouTube videos. The University of YouTube is great. I spent a lot of time refining my skills so that I could be more analytical, and so that I could use the data to make the right insights, to do my job better, to help make better business decisions. And I will say that was like a turning point for my career, because it allowed me to kind of be able to learn, teach. I trained my brain how to look at stuff and find alternatives to a good path, or find options, which I probably didn't have that, but someone gave me that feedback. And I didn't come into the job with those skills. So maybe I was like faking it till I made it. But I figured out how to like develop those skills throughout. I found the right people in the company who it's like, hey, let me buy you a coffee. Let's go to lunch. Like, and hey, can I sit with you and go over this report with you and do all of that? And then I got better and I got smarter. And even today, those things are helping me.
Yeah. And I love that, because oftentimes when I think about tribe, finding a tribe, it's not just the people that tell you the great things, right, that you want to hear. It's also those folks that they really believe in your capabilities, your abilities, and they want to see you progress. And so they're going to provide you with that constructive feedback. And I love that. Over the years, I've definitely had that as well. And I've seen the impact that it's had within my career. But I will say that it also came from a place of love, right? Like those individuals I knew were very intentional about building a relationship with me, and very intentional about really questioning me about my career path. And so that helped, because whenever they gave feedback, I knew, okay, they want to see me progress. And this is something I really need to take to heart here and work on. And going back to you, just connecting with those in the analytics department, right? And doing that work on the University of YouTube, that was a part of your tribe, right? It was a part, you had people that you really leaned on, that you felt comfortable with, and they'll talk to you about your accomplishments and big you up and brag about you. But you also had those folks too that then said, hey, here are some things you need to improve on and work on. I just love every bit of that. And I remember meeting you. And I still to this day, it was like the color purple. I was so excited to see you.
Right.
Seeing another woman, another Black woman at an executive level, just crushing it.
Yeah.
And I nearly almost jumped on your back.
You might have. And that's what I think I'm looking at the comments, and it's beautiful, because it is like, Veronica, like, you're enough. You're good. You're the best. Like, you are enough. You matter. And like, sometimes thank you for saying this, because I love that sometimes it's just like us encouraging each other, and you maybe just need other people to remind you of that. And it is okay to like not feel like we are sometimes. We're not always in our most confident space, and that's perfectly fine. But it's also perfectly fine that like we see each other. So we see you, we feel you, and like, you're going to crush it and you're going to get it. And I think it's learning more about a role before we step into it too is another thing that I wanted to add as well, because sometimes folks will hire really quickly and they won't really assess like, your skills as fully and what they need, right? And so it's okay to ask questions through the interview process. It's okay to ask for additional meetings, or if you're like, hey, can I talk to someone on this particular team and learn more? And that's also fine. So it's okay to kind of step beyond the bounds that are set, whether it's on onboarding within the interview process too.
Yeah. And Jacinta, you know what I love the most about conducting Shut Up and Listen
what do you love most?
It's being able to see everyone engage with each other
100%.
through the forum. And we get to see it live right now. We're looking at it. And I think, like you said, to your point, it's so beautiful. And I want everyone to come on to ourdipper.com as well and engage with us. The same type of engagement here. We want to drive that on ourdipper.com and talk to you about, hey, what are some things that are working for you right now? If you're in that new role, we want to hear it. We want to be able to share some of those insights with other folks as well. What's not working? What can people learn from, right? So everyone remember, it's ourdipper.com. Head on there. We'll definitely make sure to interact with you on our forum. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Yes. Bye.
Bye.